The conflict in Ukraine has demonstrated the utility of nimble but heavily armed off-road vehicles. The Oshkosh Joint Light Tactical Vehicle was developed by Oshkosh Defense for the United States Army and Marine Corps. Wants to market a more heavily armed version of its Humvee replacement to European clients. The Joint Light Tactical Vehicle is a family of armored vehicles designed to replace a variety of older tactical vehicles in the U.S. military, including the High Mobility Multipurpose Wheeled Vehicle or Humvee. It was developed to address the shortcomings of the Humvee, particularly in terms of survivability and mobility in combat environments. The JLTV represents the next generation of automotive technology in a number of key respects, such as the ability to design a light tactical, mobile vehicle with substantial protective ability to defend against an improvised explosive device, roadside bombs, and other threats. The off-road vehicle, touted by Oshkosh as a nimble upgrade over the legacy Humvee, has been widely adopted in the U.S. Marine Corps and U.S. Army. However, an upgunned JLTV would be particularly appealing to European allies. Oshkosh Defense has now built 10,000 of its Joint Light Tactical Vehicles for the U.S. Army, Marine Corps, and a growing sphere of international partners, hitting a milestone which may only be but a beginning to a decades-long developmental, production, and delivery trajectory. The vehicle, originally envisioned as a hybrid combination between a high-speed, mobile off-road vehicle and a heavily protected IED-stopping armored platform, has evolved into a complex, yet balanced mixture of the two. The JLTV was designed with an unprecedented blend of protection, payload, and performance. The Army sought a platform able to go off-road as needed, carry large amounts of troops, supplies, and ammunition, and even function as a heavily armed combat platform. While not tracked or heavily armored like a tank or infantry carrier, the JLTV has operated with anti-tank missiles, counter-drone technology, and a new generation of sensing and computing technologies. This supports the Army's move toward more expeditionary operations, meaning an ability to rapidly deploy impactful combat power to meet urgent or emerging threats and combat demands. The upgunned JLTV features a modified roof that can accommodate a John Cockerell protected weapons station along with an M240 225mm Bushmaster chain gun. The only thing that we really had to change on the truck was the roof, and since our capsules are a modular design, we just replaced the roof panel with the new roof panel and then mounted that turret up there, said George Mansfield, Vice President and General Manager of Joint Programs at Oshkosh Defense. And again, that was a mock-up, but we're building up a real version of it right now. Senior Army developers have explained the technical and conceptual balance sought after by JLTV engineers who envisioned a highly versatile, mobile vehicle able to survive an entirely new threshold of threats when compared with previous tactical vehicles. The JLTV was built to fight with a level of underbody protection equivalent to the original MRAP ATV. Mine-resistant, ambush-protected, all-terrain vehicle standards. Also, the vehicle is designed with modular armor, so that when the armor is not needed, the extra armor can come off and bring the weight of the vehicle down. When compared with earlier light tactical vehicle models such as the Humvee, the JLTV is engineered with a much stronger 250 to 360 horsepower engines and a 570 amp alternator able to generate up to 10 kilowatts of exportable power. Army developers explain that the JLTV is designed with enough onboard power to support the Army's future network and be able to take advantage of the latest generation of diesel engine technology to maximize fuel economy. The vehicle is built with a system called TAK4i independent suspension designed to increase off-road mobility in rigorous terrain, a scenario quite likely should there be a major war. The JLTV is equipped with next-generation sensors and communications technologies to better enhance soldiers' knowledge of a surrounding, fast-moving dynamic combat situation. The in-vehicle network approach is grounded in open architecture, meaning that information technology systems and electronics will all be built to commercial technical standards, ensuring maximum interoperability. JLTV is aligning with specific Army technical standards, which will enable a single computer or system to run a host of interoperable applications and functions. The JLTV, which can be armed with weapons such as a grenade launcher or 50 caliber machine gun, has a central tire inflation system, which is an on-the-fly system that can regulate tire pressure. The system can adjust tire pressure from higher pressures for higher speed conditions on flatter roads to much lower pressures in soft soil such as sand or mud, Army JLTV engineers have explained. The U.S. Army's Joint Light Tactical Vehicle looks to be facing a troubled procurement schedule in the upcoming fiscal year. Although greenlit for full-rate production in June 2019, the JLTV saw several upgrades implemented in 2019 to address deficiencies found in service trials. But problems with the JLTV may have resulted in cuts in procurement. The JLTV is supposed to be the U.S. Marine Corps and U.S. Army's next-generation tactical vehicle, replacing a multitude of MRAPs and up-armored Humvee variants in service as the primary light-wheel transport on the battlefield. The Army plans to procure over 500,000 JLTVs, and the Marine Corps plans to procure and as such, its armor to protect against a variety of the contract to produce the JLTV was won by Oshkosh Defense, which also is the current manufacturer of the Army's primary truck. Europe is very interested over there right now, I think, with things going on. They seem to be very interested in being able to buy a JLTV at the price point that Oshkosh can give them that, and then putting some pretty good lethal equipment on top of it, Mansfield explained. It becomes a lethal asset that they can use, or employ, on the battlefield. You can get mine-resistant ambush protected, level protection, you've got the mobility, it'll keep up with combat formations, and now you've put some lethality on top of it, right? It's a very good vehicle for what they're interested in right now. The Army's Humvees were a war-tested tactical vehicle for decades, yet many of them were decimated in Iraq and Afghanistan by improvised explosive devices, IED. That's why the Army worked intensely to better protect its Humvees with things like up-armoring and extra bolt-on protections. These innovative additions, though helpful, simply could not save the flat-bottomed, low-riding Humvees from roadside bombs. The vulnerability of the low-riding Humvee and the number of casualties associated with its performance in Iraq and Afghanistan gave rise to the Defense Department's push to accelerate life-saving alternatives. The Army is the central manager for the JLTV program, but the platform is also operated by the United States Marine Corps. In addition, the Air Force has decided to replace some of its Humvees with JLTVs, and there have been a number of sales to foreign countries including the United Kingdom and Lithuania. JLTV is a fantastic platform to get that capability, he added. We don't necessarily require all of it. It's up to every vendor to decide which ones they're going to propose as they do their own best value calculation. Repairing military equipment in a high-intensity conflict against a great power competitor should be identified as a gray rhino, a high-impact, high-probability event that, unaddressed, will lead to dire consequences. U.S. warfighters need a plan to tame this beast, or at least divert it, since the ability to repair equipment in the field will be a significant friction point in any mass great power competition for American ground forces. Field repairable equipment and resilient supply chains will be crucial for the U.S. military in a great power war. Perhaps one of the most pertinent lessons from the conflict in Ukraine is the utility of a heavily armed and highly mobile off-road vehicle. The JLTV with a large caliber turret may be just the solution. Please feel free to offer your thoughts or feedback, as it will help us develop and raise the caliber of our future content. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification chimes if you want to stay in touch with us. I want to thank you more for your help. Stay tuned for our upcoming video or material.